Hello friends, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. It's a new month, so it's time to go over everything I picked up on Blu-ray and 4K Ultra HD for September 2022. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit that bell notification. You can also find me over Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Movie Guy 365. Okay, a new month is upon us, so it's time to go over everything I picked up on Blu-ray and 4K Ultra HD for September 2022. There were a ton of new releases on 4K this month. In fact, I would say about 98% of all my pickups were 4K releases. I did manage to dip in a couple titles in my wish list over on Amazon for Blu-ray, but really a lot of it is 4K. So let's not waste any time, let's dive right in. This one was a pure recommendation. I don't know why I avoided it. I think I felt it was a different movie than it really was. So this was a blind buy, but I really liked it, and I watched the sequel over on Paramount Plus. That is Orphan. I would love to get a 4K edition of this one. Hopefully one day that'll happen, but I really liked it. It was a cool concept. I won't spoil anything, obviously, but yeah, I think you should definitely check it out. I do highly recommend it, and hopefully they somehow make more movies in the franchise, I guess. But yeah, Orphan, really liked it. This was another one that I saw years ago, but I never saw the black and white cut, so I wanted to get a physical Blu-ray edition. That is The Mist, for the story based off of Stephen King's novel, and directed by Frank Darabont. Honestly, after I watched the black and white version the other day, it's definitely the way to watch the film, in my opinion. The color, it's kind of like Logan, where you watch the noir version of Logan, it's the preferred way, and I think The Mist definitely falls under that camp. So yeah, pick this one up. It comes with both editions, the color and the black and white, and I do recommend the black and white. That's it for the Blu-rays, so let's dive right into the 4Ks. Once again, this was a very heavy month for 4K releases, and of course it started out with a bang with all the individual original series Star Trek films coming to 4K. The parts 1 through 4 were in a box set last year, so this time, I'm an individual release person. I know a lot of people get the box set of all 6 films or whatever, but I like the individual looks on my shelves. So of course you start with Star Trek the Motion Picture, the director's edition. I did a full review. You want to check it out. It is a beautiful looking disc, and it really breathes a whole new life into the film. So yes, check it out. And I also prefer the artwork on this one over the deluxe edition that came out, which I know I almost picked that up. I really did, but I was just worried about shelf space and also paying like essentially $50 for swag and an extra cut, which you may or may not watch frequently. I don't know. I think it's personal preference, but for me, this is all I needed. And yeah, I recommend it. Check that one out. And of course, you got to go with the other individuals. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Good films, really good. Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. The Final Frontier. The Final Frontier Part 5 has not been on 4K yet. And of course, one of my personal favorites from the original series, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Love the movie. As I said, it's probably one of my, I would say, next to Wrath of Khan, probably, yeah, I would say Undiscovered Country would be right behind it. So yeah, Undiscovered Country, individual release is now on 4K, and it's also part of a box set. I also imported something on 4K, which I think eventually it will come to 4K here in the States, whether A24 releases it as part of their exclusive shop kind of thing, or they might wait for like a trilogy because they're making a third film in it. I got the German media book of X. I watched it on 4K. Really, I do feel it's a significant improvement over the Blu-ray edition. And I think it's also beautiful packaging. It really is nice. Yeah, and this is a great movie. I saw Pearl in the theater. I cannot wait to get a 4K of that. I think the Technicolor is going to look gorgeous with HDR and Dolby Vision. But X, as kind of like a grindhouse type of look that the film has, I think it really works. And the 4K edition is great. And I do recommend you import it. But yeah, you might want to wait a little bit. I do see a domestic release eventually. But I'm very happy with this one. And if you can, check it out on 4K. This one was released last week on the old release schedule, and it's one of my favorite classic sci-fi films of all time. The War of the Worlds. I think Paramount did an excellent job with the picture quality. Yes, Mars is blue, blue skies on Mars, if we're in the Total Recall universe. But yeah, I still think it's worth picking up. It is very good looking with the HDR and Dolby Vision, and it's classic sci-fi. It looks fantastic. So I recommend you pick this one up on the formats. I was lukewarm to this particular title. I got it really just to review for the channel, but I will say that Disney did a great job with the 4K release. I think picture and audio is they've been doing a better job. I want to be cautiously optimistic that this is heading in the right direction for them. Lightyear, the latest from Pixar, not a huge fan of the movie. I'll watch it probably one more time just to really get like an opinion on it, like kind of a final thought. But yeah, but I will say the 4K is great. So if you love the movie, I highly recommend the 4K. It has got a great audio and video experience, so check it out. This one unfortunately did not pan out as far as an upgrade goes. Shout Factory's release of Platoon. We can't really blame Shout Factory. They're just distributing it. Really the fault lies with MGM and whatever they did. I don't want to go over too much. I did a full review on the channel if you want to hear my thoughts. Unfortunately, it's a step down from a previous Blu Ray edition. But for those that really want it, Platoon is on 4K. This one was a welcome surprise from Sony that A, they were releasing it, and B, when they released it, it actually is an excellent 4K. Real Genius, starring Val Kilmer. I did a full review. Check that one out, and if you've never seen it, it is a great 80s comedy. Val Kilmer is awesome in this. I remember this one completely on loop when I was younger. It was on cable, and I think we even recorded it on VHS at some point, but it was so excellent to see this in a proper widescreen edition. It just feels like a lot of love and care and attention was given to this one, and I love that because you only have memories of this on VHS or cable, and it looked a certain way in your mind, but really it was like watching the movie again for the first time. So yes, check that one out on 4K. I do recommend it. This one is unfortunately another Paramount release that wasn't so good. Once again, I did a review. Fatal Attraction. I really enjoy the movie. It's something that I go back to every few years. I just wish the 4K was a little stronger. But for those that want it on physical media in 4K, you now have your prayers answered here. But yeah, check out my review if you want to hear my thoughts on the transfer. This was another one that I saw in theaters. I thought it was beautiful, and it makes an excellent 4K disc. That is Elvis from director Baz Luhrmann. Great film. When it comes to, biopics of musicians, I'm kind of a tough customer on that. There are certain ones I do really like, but I think this one takes the whole concept and spins it with that Baz Luhrmann style, and it works. It really does. And the 4K disc is gorgeous. It's also got a great audio experience. So Elvis on 4K, now available. I did a review if you want to check that one out. One of my all-time favorite John Carpenter movies finally came to 4K here in the States. I know it was available internationally for a number of years. The Fog, Steelbook, love it. It's probably one of my favorite Steelbook designs of 2022. I can't speak highly enough of the film. I really love it. It's got a lot of atmosphere. In a lot of ways, it really is just one of Carpenter's most moody, atmospheric films. I stand by that one any day of the week. But it is fantastic, and it's also, in my opinion, criminally underrated. But now, here in the States, we finally have a 4K edition. Also has a slipcover of John Carpenter's The Fog. And then, of course, I was very surprised to see this one coming to 4K. Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. I love Monty Python. I crack up every time. It just feels like, if you've seen the movie enough, you know that when the jokes are coming. But this is absolutely one of those. I still laugh at certain spots consistently. I love it. And the 4K edition, I think, is very solid. It really is a good edition. And I believe, yeah, they did upgrade the audio to DTSX. It is a good film. I'm hoping we see more Monty Python coming in the future. I would love it. And check it out on 4K. And this came out on Blu Ray from Lionsgate earlier this year, I think, or late last year. And lately they've been throwing out some 4K releases several months after. So you got to watch out on a standard Blu Ray from Lionsgate. But Old Henry, I think, is a very decent Western. It's got Tim Blake Nelson, great in the role. I don't want to spoil anything about it. It's kind of like a gritty Western, and it works. I haven't had a chance to watch the 4K edition yet, but I saw it on Blu Ray. It was fantastic. And I love Westerns as it is, and I would love to see more Westerns come on 4K. We've lately, especially this month and October coming up, we've gotten a lot of horror on the 4K format, which I love, but I want to see a little bit more love thrown to Westerns. And hopefully one day we'll see some of those top ones that, if you're a longtime follower of the channel, you know are some of my favorites. But yeah, Old Henry, definitely check that one out. And one of my all-time favorite horror films came to 4K this particular month. Love it. I go back to it at least once a year, and it still scares me. It's still one of the only films that still scares me. Poltergeist, Best Buy exclusive Steelbook edition. Great transfer. Great transfer. I wish they would have upgraded the audio. That's just a big nitpick, but check out my review if you want to hear my thoughts on it. Love this film. Really just... I'm so happy it is now on the best possible format, and it does look fantastic. Speaking of Poltergeist and the director Tobe Hooper, another Tobe Hooper film came out this past month. Shout Factory, Scream Factory's release of Funhouse. Really like the transfer on this one. I do enjoy the film. It's got kind of like a Dario Argento vibe to it. But I think Shout did a great job. And once again, I did a full review. If you want to hear my thoughts, yeah, this is good. And it's also another underrated film. I think it really has some great atmosphere. So Funhouse now on 4K. This one was very divisive among, I know, my viewers and out there. After I posted my review, of course, I looked to see what other people were saying about it. I stand by mine. If you want to hear my thoughts on it, I think the transfer works, but, you know, everybody's going to have an opinion. Friday the 13th on 4K. As far as the movie itself, I really love it. Of course, I'm a big fan of the franchise, and we know the first 4 films were remastered in 4K, so I'm expecting at least 2, 3, and 4 to show up eventually, maybe next year, the year after. But yeah, if you want to hear my thoughts fully on the 4K edition, check it out. It is on the channel. This next one came out at the same time as Poltergeist, and that is The Lost Boys. I think the transfer is beautiful. It looks really good, very solid. Once again, I wish they would have upgraded the audio. I think that would have been... this one could have definitely benefited from it, but I do feel the transfer is very nice. Once again, did a review if you want to check that out. And I know this one has kind of like a cult following behind it. It's funny because it's not as mainstream, but it's not quite a cult classic. It kind of falls in between. I think it's really one of those unique things where it's more popular than a cult classic, but not mainstream. But I still really enjoy it, and it's a very decent 80s vampire flick. So yeah, The Lost Boys is now on 4K. This was I really was very happy when I saw this one in the theater. It was one of those movies that I didn't think I was going to enjoy, or I thought it was going to be bad, or kind of like a B movie. I found it to be very enjoyable, and I was bummed it only came out on Blu Ray, but Paramount has since released this one on 4K, and that is Crawl. I just watched this one 2 nights ago. The transfer is excellent. Really very solid, and I enjoy it. It's a good creature feature kind of film. It's very quick. It's less than an hour and a half, and you definitely get your bang for the buck. And the audio is really fantastic on this one. But yeah, Crawl on 4K. I recommend it. This was a Criterion release on the 4K formats, and that is Brian De Palma's Blowout. I haven't had a chance to watch the 4K. I've of course seen the movie many times, but this is a great thriller. And I'm hearing people saying that the transfer is really good on 4K, so I'm going to check it out eventually, probably within the next month or so. But yes, Blowout on 4K from the Criterion Collection. Also from the Criterion Collection, this was a complete blind buy. Somebody recommended it to me, and I enjoyed it. Sound of Metal. This was a very cool drama. It was nothing like I was expecting, and I think the transfer is excellent. It really is just beautiful to look at, and it's a good story. It has some great performances, and it's, you know, I applaud Criterion for putting this one out on 4K. This one could have been just an easy Blu Ray port, and that would have been the end of it, but I do recommend it. And the audio, I believe, was only 5.1, but it's fantastic. It's really good. So yes, Sound of Metal, I would recommend to check that one out. This is another one I never expected to really see on 4K, but I'm very happy it came out. And, you know, rewatching it after a number of years, you can definitely see some holes in the plot, but, you know, it's still fun. It is fun. And I Know What You Did Last Summer. Sony did an excellent job on this release. I think the picture is just fantastic. It looks great. And, you know, it's good to see horror represented, as I mentioned earlier, on the format. So I Know What You Did Last Summer, did a full review, so check that one out. This is another one that when it comes to modern remakes, and I mentioned this in my review of the 4K, a lot of times I don't like a remake. But this one was an exception. I think it did its own thing, and it did it well, and it's got a great atmosphere. That is the remake of Evil Dead, released from Shout Factory. Good 4K. It's not a huge upgrade over the Blu Ray because the Blu Ray itself was already excellent. But I think this, you know, if you're just looking to have the best possible version, or if you're a new buyer, get the 4K edition. And I love the film that it does its own thing. It takes the premise and it doesn't kind of try to copy Sam Raimi's original films. I think it's very good. So yeah, Evil Dead on 4K. And finally this month, of course, the latest from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Thor Love and Thunder. Of course, I'm a huge MCU fan, and I am a steelbook collector for the MCU. I have them all in steelbook form. I wasn't a huge fan of the movie. I think it has some problems. I just relied way too much on the jokiness, but I do enjoy some elements of it. Is it something I'll go back to very often? Probably not. It'll be one of those where when I go through my MCU marathon, of course, I'll have to throw it in there, but I do think that, as I mentioned earlier with Lightyear, the 4K edition is definitely a step in the right direction for Disney. The picture is excellent, and the audio is equally impressive. It is a fantastic 4K presentation. So if you really enjoy the film, get the 4K disc. I do think you are going to have a great experience in your home theater. So that is everything I picked up on Blu-ray and 4K for September 2022. If you're interested in any of these titles, I will leave an Amazon link in the comments section. If you use it, it really helps out the channel. But I also want to hear from you. What did you pick up this past month, and what are you looking forward to in October? In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. So until next time, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. I will see you at the movies.